Dear panelists, please come take your place on stage. Can we continue the applause, please? Thank you. Before we continue, I would like to ask Mr. T. Kharsati to please come up and give us a welcome speech.
A very good morning to everyone present here today. Good morning to the schools that are here, St. Dominic, Sacred Heart Boys, MPPS, JAU Presbyterian Higher Secondary School. Thank you for making it to this program. And before I start with the welcome speech, I'd like to welcome our esteemed panelists here and even the guests and attendees. Dr. Eddie Mukim, Dr. K. Marbanyang, Administrative Officer, Dr. Arden Dakhar, Dr. Meban Ibor Khakangor, and Principal and Vice Principal of Nursing College, Robert Hospital. So, and of course, welcome to the Health Minister, Dr. Amparin Lingdo, and the Secretary, Bethany Society, Mr. Carmo Narona. So thank you for being with us today. This is actually an impromptu, informal gathering, which I didn't know about until just 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And since it's a very honorable cause, and it's something that can help each and every one in this hall, especially the students, the adolescents that are here, I think this is mainly for you because this is a health awareness program and it's meant to tackle the issues that you're facing, not just your physical health, but your mental health, emotional health, and even your spiritual health. So I hope that this program will bring about a change in your mindset, something that will start to make sense in whatever that you're going through emotionally. And I'm sure our esteemed panelists also will be speaking a lot about the issues that you are facing every day in your life. So I am one of those panelists as well. I'll be joining them. And I hope that it'll be a fruitful coming together of minds where we can interact with each other. And Kong Pauline, of course, you will always make sure that that will happen. So I hope you're feeling better also. So without further ado, so welcome all of you. And thank you for being here. I know you all have a lot going on and you're making this time for us. And I really appreciate that. And I hope that God will be with us in all this endeavor. And I hope that it'll be a very successful program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kharsati, for that wonderful speech. And secondly, we would like to thank you for allowing us to have this important discussion in this hall. Without further ado, please, I call on our beloved students to felicitate our guests. As they receive the bouquets, can we please give them applause again? Thank you so much, beloved students. And now we call Kong Ellerine and Ba Gordon as our mediators.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, children. You're here for a very serious discussion here, all right? And I think this is very good. Initially, when I saw the target group, I was wondering, will you be able to understand the kind of discussion that we're going to have? But you are the future leaders, the people who will be actually doing, carrying on the work of whatever we're trying here. Being in charge of this poor patient fund later. So it's good that you're here because this will initiate you into something very, very serious and something that will help the community. All right. So we gather here today to celebrate the enduring legacy of Dr. Hugh Gordon Roberts, a man whose life was a testament to unwavering faith, to compassion and dedication. The hospital that bears his name stands as a symbol of hope and healing, much like Dr. Roberts himself, who over a century ago arrived in Shillong with a vision that extended far beyond the walls of any single institution.
As we commemorate this centenary, we are reminded not only of the history that shaped this hospital, but also the enduring values of service to humanity. Dr. Roberts' remarkable leadership during the First World War, his relentless pursuit of modern medical facilities, and his commitment to both the physical and spiritual well-being of the Khasi and the Jaintia people, it truly reflects the heart of true missionary work. His legacy did not end with the hospital's inauguration in 1922, but continued with his tireless efforts to raise funds, improve healthcare, and train future generations of medical professionals. Today, we stand on the shoulders of his accomplishments, and it is our responsibility to ensure that this institution, it continues to serve as a beacon of care, especially for those in need.
Good morning, esteemed panelists, our distinguished and all of you friends. It's an honor to welcome you all to this important gathering today. We come together not just as professionals and patrons, but as a community with a shared goal to ensure that quality healthcare is accessible to everyone, regardless of their economic backgrounds. Roberts Hospital has long been a pillar of hope and healing, serving countless individuals with compassion and dedication. However, as we know, there are many who still struggle to afford the medical care they so desperately need.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to keep in mind that this event is part of a special occasion, a heartfelt effort to raise funds for the Poor Patient Fund, which will directly benefit those patients who find themselves burdened not only by illness, but also by financial hardships as well. Through our collective generosity, we can ensure that no one is turned away from the care they deserve.
Today, we're very privileged. We have a very distinguished panel of professionals, medical professionals, dedicated social worker, our esteemed health minister, all of whom will bring deep expertise and insight into the pressing challenges facing healthcare today. Let me begin by telling you the name of the theme that we have curated for today, and that is Bridging Gaps in Mental Health and Well-Being, Addressing Student Lifestyles and Healthcare Accessibility for the Undeserved. Now, this reflects the critical issues we aim to address. So their vast experience and unwavering commitment ensure that this will be a very, very meaningful and impactful conversation.
And as we embark on this discussion, let us keep in mind the profound influence healthcare has on the lives of individuals and then families and communities. The decisions and solutions we explore today, they hold the potential to create lasting change in how we approach mental health and well-being. We will begin by directing the first question to the administrative officer, Mr. K.W. Marbanyang. Hi, a very good morning, sir. So the thing is, as the admin, the administrative officer, you have a unique perspective on the hospital's legacy. Now, can you share with us some highlights of the key milestones in its journey?
Will you repeat the question?
Yeah. Can you just share the highlights of some of the key milestones in the journey of the hospital?
Thank you. And I express my sincere gratitude to the Aroha Musical Society for inviting us to be one of the panelists to this very, very important program today. And also all the panelists that were here, the organizers, and our Honorable Health and Family Welfare Minister, Dr. Ampreen Lingdaw, our students from different schools that are here today. Well, as far as the journey of the hospital, as we have already heard about a little while ago, that Dr. Hugh Gordon Roberts, in 1912, he finished his medical profession from Liverpool in England and came to Meghalaya with a mission to preach the gospel. But at that period of time, after traveling all the way from Liverpool by ship to reach Calcutta, imagine it took about 6 months' time to travel over the sea and reach Calcutta, and from there started the journey through Chittagong, or Bangladesh now, to come to Cherrapunji and downward to Shillong. After that, after arrival, he started the work of the mission as a missionary from Wales. He started the missionary work, and one of the main objectives that he could understand the need of healthcare, because at that time people are very, very poor, especially from among the Khasi, the tribal people. So immediately after that, in 1913-14, then the Second World War broke out. Then he was called by the government to be the surgeon in the civil hospital for some time. It was during that time that he realized that there's a need to set up a separate hospital for the Khasi people because of the language problem and other issues. So from 1914-15 onward, we started the construction of this hospital. Prior to that, there was a place known as Mission Compound near the KGP Higher Secondary School. There was a dispensary, a local dispensary was set up there to be able to attend to the healthcare of the people of Meghalaya at that time, Shillong at that time. It was through a very hard journey when he proposed to set up a hospital, the need to set up the hospital in Shillong, in Jaya. There was many challenges during that time. There are protests also that, yes, you cannot set up a hospital over there because your mission is to preach the gospel. But he said no. So he was able to convince those higher-ups in the Wales so that they also ultimately support the idea after he had been able to give all the reasons, the justifications why there is a need to set up the hospital at that time. Then from 1617 started the construction work of the hospital, and in 1922 it was open to the public. So as the motto of the hospital is service to man is service to God, which is the self-sacrificing for the welfare of humanity, of mankind, is as important as worshipping God. So with that motto, we inherit this legacy that we are today. And we are very proud that the hospital have been treated many patients all across the state of Meghalaya and at that time Assam, and even from outside Assam across India. People are very much aware of the fame of this hospital it enjoys. Even as far as the Rani of Jhansi, I don't know how many of you have read the historical thing about the queens and kings at this time. She came to this hospital after knowing the capacity of the treating doctors over here to heal certain kind of diseases that are very, very much familiar but unable by other hospitals, came to Shillong, got treated, and after she was recovered, she gave a donation about 45,000 rupees at that time to complete the building. So this is how the hospital grew up, and from that time onward, the name and fame of the hospital has, reached to a point where people, they appreciate the service they have contributed. Besides that, while setting up the hospital, they realized also one thing, that in the rural areas, people, because of transportation, communication, because of poverty, and all these problems, they would not be able to get the same kind of health, treatment that people in the urban or semi-urban could manage. So because of that, their vision is therefore how to make peripheral healthcare delivery to those areas also. They set up the rural healthcare centers. So those rural health centers, we have now 4 of those. One is Mauflang, which is now covering about 14 villages, set up in 1964. The second one is in Lait Mo Siang. There's about 18 villages set up in 1969. The third one is in Thang Sning, which is in Maukan Rao block. That was set up in 1996. And the fourth one, which has come just very recently, that was 3 years back, 2011, Mariao Rural Health Center. In these rural health centers, there is a facility for in-house, for inpatient, 5 to 6 beds are there. And there is manned by the trained senior nurses and the assistants. And also there is a doctor that used to go there once in a week. And they have that kind of a, they admitted patient, treat them. There are certain, on a doctor consultation, if the treatment is required to be referred to other hospitals or to the Robert Hospital, that is being done. So it is 24 into 7 service, even in this rural center, which is functioning till now. And most important thing is that, the hospital has grown up to the extent that now we have as many as 350 bedded hospital. At that time, it was a 90 bedded hospital. As it is now, it is a 350 bedded. And there are also matrons. Now we call nursing superintendent, but in those days they call matrons. There are many foreigners, missionary nurse from Wales who came also at that time to work out the courses of how to serve as a nurse. And it's through their vision that realized that unless and until Khasi people, local people become a nurse, it will be very difficult for them to continue with the work. It was with that intention in mind, the setting up of the nursing school, which is now being upgraded to the College of Nursing, which admits students for BSc Nursing, a 4-year degree course, is now established in the hospital and is running currently. So this is how, in short, about Robert Hospital, and we have with us all the doctors, specialists, super specialists, and with all kind of treatment that we can afford, and in as far as secondary healthcare is concerned. So this is how, about in short, about Robert Hospital. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I think that's really very, very detailed. But as you all know, when we discuss about certain things like that, we do come across obstacles, and it's been a really long journey from then to now. Mr. Marbilan, can you just tell us a little bit or discuss the challenges the administration faces in managing resources and how these are being overcome?
Yes, it is a very, very good question, I must say, because you see, as a self-supporting institution, it becomes very, very difficult for us to maintain, to manage the requirement that is required, because we have to keep pace with the scientific technologies, the changing times, and there are challenges, resources that we don't have, especially like, for example, manpower. We do still have some doctors, specialists, which we could not manage now to employ because of certain other reasons, and also the requirement, not only the human resources, but also require the infrastructures. We require the manpower, infrastructures, and equipments, which are, especially as I said, with the modern medical technology, which keep on changing from time to time. You need to update yourself, you need to upgrade the hospital. So these are a few of the challenges, but I must thank God that in spite of all these challenges, there are people who come forward to donate. It might be individuals, it may be from the churches, Jesang Kante, Jesang Samla, and individuals, even from the public representatives and all those who comes to donate. And through the donation and with the income that we are getting from the hospital, we can run the hospital as it is now. I must also add that from the Foreign Fund, FCRA, or Foreign Control Regulation Act, we do get some funds from the Presbyterian Church of Wales, and also from the KAM Trust from United Kingdom. And now there is also a project which Dr. Meban probably will have to maybe able to share a little information about the project from Australia, Baker Heart Institute and Diabetes Heart Institute from Melbourne, Australia. We're expecting this research work, which Dr. Meban is the main coordinator for that project. we are expecting to get some funds. But as we discussed with a gentleman from the Bethany Society, in the present situation, we are changing a lot of restrictions as far as the government of India in the releasing of funds from the FCRA. But nevertheless, we could manage to get, as of now, the fund flow we are getting, but there are certain difficulties that we need to meet. These are some of the challenges. So overall, we rely on the resources that we earn and also from those donations that we keep on expecting from the donors of various kinds. Some of them died in kind, some of them in cash, and this is how we're able to run the hospital as it is today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marvanyang, and thank you for highlighting the problems that you're facing and also the initiatives that you've started with the Poor Patient Fund. Now, we realize there are two very crucial institutions that really need funding in the state, I feel. One is education and one is health. And I would like to address this next question to our Health Minister, Dr. Ampareen Lingdo. And my question is very simple. How does the government intend to support initiatives like the Poor Patient Fund, and what is the government's long-term plan to reduce the financial burden on poor patients?
Thank you very much, Ellerine, for that question. Very good morning to all the young students who are witnessing a very technical debate and discussion. And I sincerely hope that you will be able to take home some important messages while we try to discuss the issue of health, roles of individual organizations like the Robert Hospital, roles of various providers of healthcare in various capacities, and what is the role of the government in all of this. Before I get into talking about what is the government doing, I want to bring before this audience today that we've just lost a very young, talented, international singer, Liam Payne, from One Direction. Those of you who had the opportunity of being a part of that One Direction era where their music enthralled the world will know Liam Payne, who is aged 31. And with the great sense of loss that I feel, I want to share this information to all of you young people, because he was just 31 years old, very promising young talent, discovered in the America's Got Talent show, and became worldwide known. He succumbed to drugs and alcoholic issues, and this morning it was reported that he fell off a hotel balcony. So this is the kind of extent that mental health now is impacting societies and communities across the globe. In the matter of healthcare, government funding is a little technical, because we are in touch with the Robert Gordon Hospital here in Jayau. In fact, we've had several interactions with them. And we are aware of some of the issues that are now becoming critical for their running of the hospital. And government always would like to extend whatever support to such institutions when we see that they're actually serving the people for the right reason. So government funding, there are various categories, Edreen. So there are certain formalities. For example, the government cannot reach out to a lot of these far areas in the state. So what we do is, because we don't have enough doctors, now we are beginning to have nurses, but again, nurses alone cannot run such facilities. So government gets into a PPP MOU signing with certain institutions, and in their service in whichever location, government tries to support them with infrastructure building. Unfortunately, government cannot pay salaries to private entities, because we've learned a very bitter lesson in education. When government has to handhold the entire responsibility of paying salaries to government workers, it becomes a very cumbersome and messy affair. So with healthcare, we only cover few areas. One is infrastructure building, and the second one is, of course, the MHIS. We allow institutions to sign an agreement with the government, and through the MHIS scheme, we allow them to access funding for these underprivileged citizens. It's not just the underprivileged citizens who are suffering in this entire ordeal. Health just strikes and you just have disastrous situations in families. We've seen families who have sold all of their property to try and save a loved one. So now it becomes a little technical when you have to decide which is the strata of a community that will get assistance from the government. So the health card, the smart card, is to be availed by the public, by the institutions who have cleared government funding, because you need to have a few, need to have a few facilities in position to be able to be eligible to sign with the government for assistance through such schemes. So we are trying our best. Very difficult, very difficult. And we would like to place on record our appreciation to private institutions like the Robert Hospital, Shillong, who are doing so much. We are aware of their outreach programs. Even their outreach programs are doing very well. Sometimes we do find situations where Government of India does not release a particular fund ahead. So they don't get their payments for patients whom they have treated. We're trying to sort this out and make it a little more smooth. But sometimes submission of UCs, submission of clearances of these UCs does become a very bureaucratic hurdle. And I feel very bad that sometimes these matters occur. But we are trying our best as a government to make sure that these institutions who help the have-nots do not suffer and have pending funds, very large amounts of pending funds due to be paid to them, because then they fall into this huge medical crisis for the survival of their own institutions. So more or less, it is a very vast subject, cannot talk about it. These kids will not understand what we are actually talking about. So if we have to benefit them, then I think we should get into other things in the administrative matters. We can always have another meeting without the kids, because it's going to go all over their heads, and I don't think it's fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ampreen Lingdo, for that clarification. We know now the government has done so much. And I'm sure most families here are availing the MHIS. I think that's a blessing. that's a blessing in the state, and we're very happy about that. And I will hand over the next part of the questioning to Gordon.
Thank you, Elreen. Dr. Ampreen, you did mention and you did touch little on the topic of mental health. And mental health indeed is becoming an urgent concern for students and youth. And since you've mentioned a bit about that now, I'd like to turn my attention now to the school principal of Purdue School. Mr. Kharsati, I'd like to ask you, as a school principal, could you please share your observations regarding the prevalence of mental health issues among students now compared to previous years?
Okay, so we are talking about mental health, previous years and compared to now. All right. So in the previous years, mental health was not really something that was talked about, because people generally categorize them into a very stigma. It becomes a stigma. Whenever you talk about mental health, it's something that you don't talk about in public and all that. So that's why these kind of awareness programs are very, very important. So I remember when I was just starting, there was a student who had some mental health issues and all that. And when we called the parents to talk about these things, the moment we mentioned anything to do with mental health, especially even the name of the institution, which I will not mention here, but like the moment you mention the institution, it becomes a stigma. And people misunderstand what it means in those days, but a lot has changed over the years. And now the people are more receptive towards these things, and they start to understand that there are different kinds of mental health issues. And so as a school, we try to be as inclusive as we can. To a certain degree, of course, there are times when it becomes too much for us to handle, and we'd have to refer to other institutions and places. But however, we have a few students who have these kind of issues, but we try to manage them as far as possible, like whatever we can ourselves. And we have obviously counselors and all those things. But the issue of mental health is actually sometimes not so obvious. So I think even in this room, there probably majority of us have some kind of mental health issue, and especially when you're young and an adolescent. That's why we have invited these students over here to share this time with us, mainly for this very reason, that you are all going through that at this moment in time. I remember when I was young also, I was talking to Elreen just earlier, that we all went through it, and that's why we need each other. We need to talk about it. We need to express about it. And as schools, we need to provide that environment where students feel comfortable enough to communicate, and just and not just in schools. I think it's important even in the houses, in the homes. We need to have time to create that kind of environment where they feel like, okay, we don't have to look at the phone anymore and just talk to our parents or talk to our cousins or uncles, So, yeah, the main issue right now that I find, main problem that is really causing this imbalance in our personalities as young children, as adolescents, is the isolation that is caused by all sorts of media and activities actually like that are harmful, harmful substances. Basically, they all have one thing in common, this is a lack of care, lack of love, lack of connection, basically. So, you turn to cigarette smoking, you turn to, alcohol, you turn to drugs, you can turn to, the same way you can turn to media, you can turn to phone, gaming, and all these things, right? So I think gaming is actually considered to be a mental health disorder now, I believe, by WHO. I know we have to ask the doctors here. I believe that gaming disorder is something that is officially a mental health issue now. So now, I see that all the time, especially today, especially to this age. Kong Pauline was asking me, is there one thing that you want to talk about there? Because she told me that you become a panelist and you have to talk about one thing. So I said that, yeah, one thing that is really affecting the kids now is the mobile phones and how they are affecting their time. In the end, it's about time, how do you spend your time? So gaming takes away everything. All the things you are mentally you've just given into that particular activity, and you forget everything else around. You reject your family, you reject your friends, just like any form of addiction. It's that way. So this is very, very harmful to all students. I know you don't like to hear this, students. I know a lot of you get into this, but be careful, because it's a very, very dangerous thing. It's like a drug, okay? I know we don't classify it as drugs, but it is like one. And you can get lost in these things. So this will affect your mental health. This will make you forget your studies. I know it helps you to. Main thing is that they look to this because of the pressure, right? Because of academic pressure, social pressures, at home, in school, in church. So these things. So, I used to tell my students about the 5 L's. There's love, laughter, life, and I just wrote it down a little bit. 1 second. These are the life, labor, laughter, and listening, and all this we can do with love. So if we do these things with love, when we listen with love, when we labor with love, when we laugh with love, and we have time for each other, and we live life, we love our life, then, there's no way that we can go wrong. So I keep telling them that, please, one thing is that we need to remember God in our lives. We need to read the Bible. We need to search for Him. We don't have to rely only on people telling us, what God is all about. We need to find out for ourselves, and we need to pray. Because when in front of others, yes, we can act like the perfect students. We can act like the perfect daughter or the perfect son. But when we're alone, that's when, all these thoughts come that disturb us, and we get lost in these things. So if we create that environment for them at home, in school, I'm sure the students also will leave their phones behind, and they will talk about, and they'll express. We'll have to teach them how to express themselves also in many ways, like music, art, sports, whatever it is. All right? So yeah, these are my two.
Beautifully put. Thank you so very much, Mr. Karsati. Now I'd like to turn my attention to Dr. Eddie Mukim. From your medical perspective, now you've heard what Mr. Karsati mentioned just now, what do you think are the key mental health issues affecting students in our state, and how do lifestyle factors, they play a role in these challenges?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ba, for the question. Yes, I'm a psychiatrist at Robert Hospital, and I'm so glad that the theme is about mental health, because mental health is so vast and so important that you can't just leave to the professionals. Each of us has to be in charge of it and take care of our mental health. And so all the students here also, we have to be proactive and see how we can improve our emotional and psychological well-being. And someone defined a psychiatrist as a person who stops listening to you when you talk sense. Do you understand that? That's an old definition. Because previously we think that mental health is mainly about mad people. But then that's not true nowadays. After the silver lining of COVID is that mental health has come to the forefront. There's no shame or embarrassment to talk about mental health anymore. And most people who come to us nowadays are people with the problem that you have asked. I mean, young people, teenagers with depression, anxiety, addiction. So they are all normal. They don't have any, they're not abnormal in a sense, but people with emotional and psychological problem. So we should not feel ashamed or to discuss these issues. And about taking care of mental health, I believe that each one of us, you should always be willing to seek help. If you have a school counselor, if you have an elder, if you have any problem emotionally, be willing to talk about it. Girls, they're willing to, I think, discuss among themselves, share their feelings and emotions. Sometimes guys, we don't do that, no? We feel we are supermen and we can take care by ourselves. But then we all need help. It's okay not to be okay. So you should be willing to seek help. And if any school here that don't have a school counselor, you should talk to the principal that you must have a school counselor where you can share your problems. So the common issues now faced by teenagers nowadays are meantime, we might feel that children or teenagers might not have mental health issues, but then it's very common. Starting from maybe from even a 10-year-old child can have a problem because of the stress, the tension, the academic pressure, peer pressure, the pressure from your parents, so many temptations around. You'll have a lot of worries and problems. So those are issues, some overthinking, where you tend to worry so much about the future, worry about your career, exams, these problems are there. Then I think you all know about depression and anxiety. Depression when we feel sad, we cannot sleep at night, headache, thinking a lot, having panic symptoms, feeling anxiety, overthinking, insomnia. So these issues are there. Then problems like a lot of addiction, as Sir was, the principal was saying, mobile addiction. Of course, gaming addiction is a new illness now. People are addicted to games. So it's a disorder, a gaming disorder, which can be treated and helped. And as we all know now, we live in a time of drugs epidemic. So that itself is a disorder. Once you are addicted to nicotine or alcohol or drugs, it's not a crime anymore. But then to understand it's a disorder, it's an addiction, which can be helped through counseling and through medication. So these are the things. And you're saying about lifestyle change. I mean, like I said, we have to take care of mental health. And it's just common sense. Taking care of mental health is nothing great. It's like taking care of physical health. Having a proper breakfast. Many times we tend to miss our breakfast, no? But having good food in the morning, sleeping well, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, sports, exercise. We all know that when we do physical activities, we feel good emotionally. So, of course, we have to study hard, study and work hard, but then give time to exercise, sports, games, hobbies, and as Sir was saying, to trust in God, to spend time in prayer. All these activities as we change our lifestyle. And again, cutting down on mobile. Studies have shown that because of mobile use, many people fall into depression and anxiety. And when we cut down on mobile, at least by 9 o'clock, don't use mobile, sleep well. Because obviously, if we are addicted to a mobile, we won't have time for social activities, talking to people. But then, as we socialize and talk to others, that will help our mental health. So all these lifestyle changes, these common sense things, does help to improve our mental health. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eddie. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, children, what Doctor had said? He speaks about mobile phone being a serious problem. And, there's that gaming addiction that he's talking about. So it's not, if you want to keep playing, it's not a fad anymore, all right? It's an illness. You have to be treated. And you take that very seriously. And what he said is that, and now with social media, what do? You have 1,000 friends, but you don't know who these people are. Go out with your real friends, the friends that you have fun. I think that is what he's trying to say here. And that is very important. That is a huge takeaway. And it's not just for you, it's for all of us as well. We cannot live. I have a mobile anxiety attack too, because my students are reaching out to me even at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now there's no timing where teachers can say, okay, you don't stop messaging me. Suddenly they're saying, miss, I'm having a panic attack, can I talk to you? And you're like, okay. And you're having a panic attack too, talking to them. This is terrible, I think like what he said, at 9 o'clock, or keep a certain time when you say, okay, this is the time that we stop, and then you're not addicted to something when you can put it away. Now, I would like to come to a person who's worked a lot with young people, and that is Mr. Kamo Narona, who was former director of Bethany Society and the secretary. Now he can never retire from Bethany Society. They'll never allow him. And he's the man who I will ask this next question, and that is, what strategies do you believe are effective in building emotional and mental resilience among young people, particularly those facing socio-economic disadvantages?
With the permission of the organizers, I'd like to stand up. That's a mouthful. But anyway, good afternoon to everybody and to my fellow panelists. I'm not an expert. The doctors are over here, so don't ask me. But I want to talk to the students. Okay. How many of you have got brains? Put your hands up. Some are not sure. Do you all have brains? But the teachers are not putting up their hands. Neither are the panelists. Okay. So, I think as important as treatment, more important is prevention and promotion of good health. Because whenever we talk of mental health, then you immediately start thinking of mental hospitals, etc., and so on. And we need to bring this. So anyway, so you've all got brains. Good? Now I need an answer. What is the main purpose of your brain? Yeah? Loudly, please. To think. Very good. What else? Does everybody say think? Not to, yeah? Memorize, excellent, yeah? What else? Consciousness. Wow, we're getting very big words now. I'm getting lost. Do you know, shortage of time, the main purpose of your brain is to make sure you survive. The main purpose of your brain is to help you to survive. I hope the doctors don't fight with me. Your brain is there for you to survive. And all we've talked about is, okay, so, and do you know why? Our ancestors through evolution, why they had to survive, why they learned to survive. Because today, across the world, a lot of people who are studying evolution may differ on how evolution took place, etc. But there is one thing they all agree on, and that our ancestors, the one thing they always did, they moved. They moved. Because if they didn't move, they would die. The animals would get at them, okay? So either they had to eat the animals or the animals would eat them. So they had to move. And so, do you know that even 400-500 years ago, people walked almost 12 kilometers per day. And very few of them had mental health problems. There are principals here and teachers, with due respect. What do we do to students? What do we do to students? We make them immobile. We're talking about mobiles, we make them immobile. They are sitting for 6 hours a day and they are not moving. Your brain will not work if you don't move. Your brain will not work if you don't move. So my first simple point, and I'll do it to you, okay? Although you are sitting, we will move. Because when you move, love is not in your heart. Love is in your mind, okay? So when we all send these Valentine cards and all that, it's not the heart. The heart sends blood to the brain with oxygen. So let's do this, okay, to help you to do good mental health, okay? You've already done it. Put your hands together. Everybody, including the teachers, you need mental health too. Okay, let's clap. Okay, thank you. The next thing, and this is This is excellent because when you move, everything circulates, okay? Besides your brain, you need your kidneys also, okay? All right? So do this once a day, okay? Can you please stand up? Everybody. Okay? All you have to do is, and this is an excellent exercise for your kidneys. Where are your kidneys? Over here? Somewhere at the back, isn't it? Okay, just you have to just do this, okay? 20 times. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, please sit down. So this is for students and for teachers. Please remember, if you have a 30-minute class, the maximum attention you and your children will have is 10 minutes. So at 9 minutes, 59 seconds, you got to get them to move something that's connected to your class. Okay? 3 sections of 10 minutes. You will promote good mental health. If you don't move, you die. So these are the 2 very important points for resilience that I want to share. If you get a chance, give me a chance later on, I'll give you another one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamo. I think you're all awake now. Are you awake? Now I think you're much more emotionally and mentally tough thanks to him. And my takeaway, I'm going beyond what he's saying, to be emotionally and mentally tough, you have to move. Moving, not just physically, I think moving emotionally as well. When you get hit emotionally, you don't just stay in one place and say, I will die now. You move. See? So you practice his movement and my movement, and I think we're good. Right? And now I will hand over the next question to...
Or rather,
Gordon.
you can always, simplify things and make it more fun and start singing, I like to move it, every other time and feel good about it inside out, yeah? On a serious note right now, as a consultant in medicine, I'm looking at Dr. Meban Aibor Karkangor. What trends have you observed in the health profile of students, especially in terms of chronic conditions like hypertension or diabetes, and how do lifestyle factors contribute to this?
Thank you so much to the organizers for allowing us this time to interact with the students. So I am not a mental health expert. I am a medicine consultant by training. So I usually get a chance to treat people when they become patients. So even when we talk about mental health also, patients come to me when they've crossed a certain line and they've become very sick. So that is when we come and step in front to start treating. So when it comes to overall picture of young people, when in terms of health, we are seeing quite a bit of things that we are not really seeing even 10 to 15 years ago when we started our professional work. I'll give you an example. The rates of suicide attempts among young people is actually increasing over the last few years. So just a few, I think this was sometime last year, in one of the school fete that was conducted by one of the major schools in Shillong, one girl was brought to the emergency because she had consumed a bottle of deodorant, which has a very bad spirit. It's not something good, bad. And she was quite sick. So when we asked her why she did that, her first answer was because someone had stolen her phone. Someone had stolen her phone. So this young lady decides the best way out of this mess is she needs to take her own life. So now when we think about it, one way of thinking is most of us will say, these young kids are very weak nowadays. Mentally, they're very weak. But when you go in deeper into the entire thing, we tend to reflect that maybe something more deeper is happening. So I want to ask the students, how many of you have many friends? Raise your hands. Many friends. You have many friends. That's wonderful. But how many of those friends will you talk to if something bad has happened to you? Say you got beaten up, or someone has abused you on the road, or you're not able to eat in the night because of whatever reason. Some major thing has happened. How many of you all will come forward to talk to your friends? And the answer is probably very few of us. Because over the last few years, what we're seeing is the relationships, like ma'am said, we have 100 and 1,000 friends in social media, but the real friends that we connect on a deeper level is actually less. So when we look at this lady who committed suicide also, it means if she's gone all the way to consuming a poison, it means she has no friends to talk to. Correct, ma'am? There's no counselor in school, no teacher that says a mobile phone is something very useless to even give a second thought about. She could not feel the closeness to her parents to say, look, Papa, someone stole my phone. I hope you're okay with it. I hope I won't be in trouble. So when a young person does something that will harm them, it's actually because the rest of us have failed each and every one of these young people. So from my side, when we are dealing with patients who are very, very sick, who are coming with, who cannot breathe anymore, we're taking care of their heart to beat, it aches us to see that we as a society over the last few years have been failing them at mental health. And when it comes to the other systemic diseases, like hypertension and diabetes, it's exactly the same thing that is happening with mental health that is happening with these diseases, lifestyle diseases as well. It's easier for a parent to bring home pork chow or restaurant food than to make them eat pansao, correct? So that is the reason why we are seeing an exponential growth in hypertension and diabetes in the younger age group. When I started my medical profession 15, 20 years ago, I would probably see heart attacks maybe once in 6 months, strokes once in 3 months. The youngest person to get a heart attack will probably be around 56, 57 years old. I am telling you right now, we are getting sometimes 3 strokes a day, 1 to 2 heart attacks a week. And the youngest person I've treated personally due to a heart attack is 22 years old. So students, my dear students, my take-home message is just go back to your roots. No need to really change with the times for everything. Okay, no need to change for everything. Eat soplang instead of YY. Okay, go to soplang. Eat soshang. Go to your roots. Half the things will be sorted out. We conducted a study, ma'am, a few years ago. It was part of the ICMR task force for the entire country. So we did it with CMC Vellore. So what we did was we looked at the incidences of hypertension and diabetes in rural Meghalaya, which was thought to be a healthy population, right? Tribals. We found that 55% of people in our villages either have full-blown hypertension or are pre-hypertensive. which means that unless things change, unless we're able to intervene at this age group, they might be quite young, but we need to intervene, teach them young, so that in the 20 years, 30 years down the line, we will not be in a crisis that we will not be able to manage anymore. So this applies to everything, young students, to your healthcare issues. Be closer to your siblings, be closer to your few friends. You don't need to have 1,000 friends. Trust me, 2 is enough. Be closer to your parents. You should be okay to tell them anything. Okay? Be close to your teachers. Eat healthy food. Learn to like things which are more natural. Okay? Avoid as much as possible these synthetic preserved foods. Okay? How many of you all drink Coca-Cola? You drink Coca-Cola, very good. If you're looking at drinks, you might say, okay, Coca-Cola looks a little bit synthetic. What about real juice? Those real packets. You all drink that also? Yeah. So if 500 ml of juice is there, Coca-Cola, this much, almost 50 to 60% is just sugar. So children nowadays are loading with carbs, with sugar, from the time they can start eating by themselves. We've even found studies where they say that the Cerelac that is being made for Indian have a higher sugar content than the ones that is being made for other countries. So at some point in time, I think we need to go ahead in a big way to keep encouraging our students to actually go back to the things that used to make our parents and our grandparents healthy. I think that should be a way forward it's a way forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Meban. You heard what he said just now. And I confess I'm one of those mothers who bring pork chow and fried rice and all these horrible things for my daughter. But I will tell you, I keep telling myself, I want her to eat traditional food. But she eats what she sees on YouTube. Is that what you do? Yes. No? Yes, you do.
All liars, mukbang. I know you all watch mukbang.
Seriously, you would buy a packet of chips, but you will not buy sop plang anymore. Isn't that true? Yes. Avocado, okay. That's not indigenous, is it? Avocado, see? You should be eating traditional fruits as well. If you're the one who's influenced by traditional food. But what I'm saying is, the problem now here, and this is what I'm seeing. Our children, all of you are influenced by the West, whether you like it or not. And I'm looking at my daughter, and she's a case in point, as so are my students. They are eating what they see on TV or what their friends are eating. And traditional food is the last thing that, that they're eating now. So, you must realize that these are things that are not healthy, like what doctor has told us. And you should be staying very far away from them, all right? And you must know that you'll be getting diabetes and all these very soon because you're ingesting so much sugar, which is terrible. Now, I want to ask Dr. Eddie one very important question now. And I've just thought of this because, we're speaking about mental health and mental health. All this is related. The food you eat, the kind of lifestyle you lead is, related to your mental health. Now, Dr. Eddie, I'm just curious, because we refer a lot of our students to counselors, to psychiatrists when they reach a very bad state. I wonder how many of them actually come for help. Do you have a lot of young people coming for help? I mean, if we look at it, it's a crisis now. I teach in class, and I don't remember this pre-COVID, I don't remember having instances like this when girls have a panic attack in class. I've never had that, but now I do. So when we recommend them to go and see a specialist, then I don't know if they do it or not, but they say they do. So do you have a lot of students coming to you seeking for actual help? And do the parents, I'm really worried about the parents too. They do not want to acknowledge that their children have problems, you see, even when we speak to them. So I want your take on, how do you go about addressing, suppose you need help to speak to the kids, like how do they go about seeking help themselves too, which they can, I think. Seeking help if they think that, they are suffering from mental health crisis.
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. Yeah, like I said, that past 5 years now, the prevalence has increased, or people are more aware and they're coming forward for help. So that's why it appears to have increased. But it has been there since before. But I think people are more aware, and that's why we are seeing more of these cases. And to seek help, I think, like you said, you can first of all, not to be ashamed to seek help. To be willing to, we all need counseling, we all need help, we all need each other, we need friends. So to share with your friends, share with your teachers, with the school counselor if you have problem. And most people, when they have problem with these, that's why Dr. Meba and myself, I think we work together a lot. Because most people will have with these symptoms, they will not realize it's a mental health issue. Because most of the symptoms are physical. They'll have palpitations, and some of them will become unconscious. So most will go to Dr. Meban first, and they'll do all the tests and this and that, and then if it's normal, then they'll refer to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So, but it's very common. I think, Dr. Meban, they say that nearly 20 to 30% of people who go to a doctor usually have most psychological problems. They don't have, you do in the test, it's all normal. So they do visit the doctor first, before coming to a psychiatrist, because again, that stigma is still there to go to a mental health setup. So that's why the government now is encouraging that each doctor clinic must have a counselor or psychologist, because 20 to 30% people have some psychological or emotional problem, not a physical problem. So they need more of counseling, not medication. So each doctor clinic must have a counselor. Yeah, so but then, people are coming forward for help, and it's a good thing. Yeah.
So the thing is, Dr. Eddie, this also crossed my mind. I was just thinking just now, gone are the days where we feel like, oh, I'm feeling like this, I feel like that. And then our elders will say, Snapjar, I'll give you one slap. Shri Slipar, all your problems will disappear. Gone are those days, But right now, as an individual, we have a lot of students who think a lot. When do they actually know that they need help? Supposedly, for example, take in the case of overthinking, when do you actually stop and say, hey, I've been dealing this on my own, I think I need help. What is that time frame where you feel like, individuals can come and seek help? How much overthinking is overthinking?
Yeah. Yes, this awareness about mental health is a two-edged sword. Sometimes when we are too much aware, then some people might take advantage of it, no? I have problems, and sometimes you need. But then that is a minority thing. The majority is that people do suffer a lot, which previously we tend to take, especially as elder. When young people come to us, we just give them a superficial answer. Sometimes as Christian, we just pray, or just read a Bible verse. We don't take them seriously. But then there are very deep-seated issues which we have to listen to them and talk to them. So, for all these different type of problems, see, we have worries, we all have anxiety, sometimes we feel sad, and that is normal. So when we say it is, when does it crosses a red line? Usually it's a combination of factors. When it disturbs your lifestyle, not able to sleep, if your appetite is less, you cannot concentrate on your studies, that overthinking. Sometimes you have thoughts that it's no use to live, suicidal thoughts. If these things keep occurring for more than 2 weeks, we say, then you need to seek help. It's not a normal phenomenon anymore. Usually that 2-week period is very important for all these problems. Where we must, but then, sometimes if it's too severe, we don't have to wait for 2 weeks. We have to seek help immediately. The earlier, the better. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I would like to direct the next question to Dr. Ampreen. And, we are talking about indigenous food. Everything indigenous. Then I'm a little, this is what I've always wanted to ask, actually, integrating traditional medicine. Meghalaya has this very rich tradition of indigenous healing. So, are there any plans, the government, to integrate traditional healing practices into formal healthcare? Because it doesn't cost so much too. And you know, when you talk about everything from curing mental health to everything from childbirth, that's done by, it can be done by the traditional practitioners. So, I mean, will the government do something to integrate traditional medicine?
I think that the government is way ahead into integrating. Yes. We are now already having about 5 centers of traditional health providers integrated with Ayush and being also, we are looking at technically and chemically testing herbs in the state of Meghalaya. So we have a very good wellness center in Nongpo, a very good wellness center in Third Mile. We have a very good wellness center, again on PPP model in Thanroj. So we're doing all of that. But the point here is that, say for example, we lost a lot of mothers during childbirth because mothers refuse to come to the institution for proper checkups before delivery. So what tends to happen is that mothers lost their lives because the traditional practitioner was actually delivering the child without actually knowing the condition of the mother and the child, the unborn child. So we lost a lot of mothers, we lost a lot of children, newborn kids. So what we've decided to do is train the traditional healers. We're training them. We're providing proper training. Because anyways, they will not come, mothers will not come to the hospital for delivery. So since this is a very prevalent practice in the state of Meghalaya, for so long we've been fighting it and saying that no, we will not take a mother who has had a difficult delivery to a hospital and then get blamed. You see, institutions get blamed because of the delay in bringing the mothers here. So now we are having what we call the sub-centers, the wellness centers. We're also involving darbars, the village health committees. So we're doing all of that. And we are trying our best to also bring up a pharmaceutical industry somewhere in Birnihut, where we will promote our local herbs. If you could have Chyawanprash, you can also have something from the state of Meghalaya. We have very good, we have good life in our forests, where there is all kinds of herbs that are unique, that are very, very, have high medicinal value. We're doing all of that right now. It's like not new. When I took over as the health minister of the state of Meghalaya, this particular practice was well in advance. I just ensured that we gave them all the support they need. Because with or without your permission, people are going to traditional healers. And by the time a person's illness is brought to the attention of a medical doctor, practitioner, way beyond assistance, say for example, cancer. So they go to these traditional healers who keep experimenting all kinds of things with them. By the time they reach the hospital, it's way beyond a redressal. So this is something that we are doing, and I think we are at that generation of medical practitioners who don't have a problem. At one point of time, there was a war between the traditional practitioners and the medical fraternity. But that seems to have been ironed out. So if everybody is reaching out to the public or a citizen, let's do it properly. So we are now training the DIs to make sure that mothers with high-risk pregnancies don't lose their lives, children don't lose their lives, Many indicators of a child's well-being even after birth is indicated during the pregnancy. Many mothers have, these kinds of difficulties. So we are trying to help, and we have addressed MMR and IMR to a large extent in the state of Meghalaya today. But let me just share one anecdote and one story with these young kids. About a little under than a year ago, there was a sudden upsurge or a break of malaria in a certain area in the state of Meghalaya. Don't want to disclose too much. And the numbers of malaria deaths occurring for young people especially suddenly became very steep. Government was very, very alarmed. We immediately instituted a research. You will not believe what we found out. Most of these kids take their mobiles from the adult in their family to a nearby forest, sit in the forest, play their games in that forest, got bitten by dangerous mosquitoes, and we had about 4 malaria deaths of children under 18. So children, don't do this, please. Don't do this. By the way, mobile addiction is not just a child problem, it's an adult problem also. Many of us also are addicted. What are you saying? Mother sometimes forgets the curry on the gas made for the children because busy on the mobile, busy talking. Even mother is busy these days on mobile. And in the end, that curry gets burned. And you know what? Swiggy, let's have some pizza in this family today. So look, please children, whatever it is, you are very precious. Meghalaya needs this generation. Do you know that 80+% of our population is under 18? 18, 1/8. So we need this generation. See, teachers, I don't know how many of these teachers will agree with government. This whole exam practice that we have in the state is what is killing these kids. So we want to offer kids. We had a cabinet meeting also where this new model has been proposed to the cabinet. Where we're saying that if a child cannot take an exam or fails in 1 or 2 papers in an exam in the month of March, let this child be given a second chance to do the same exam sometime in May or June. They will still be on time for the next year, especially after class 10. We're talking predominantly class 10. They will still have time to join a college in September because college will not start before September. Now, we don't know whether you people will agree or not. We are a modern generation of politicians. We want to think new, think out of the box, but sometimes we receive a lot of resistance from everywhere. So we don't know what to do. We're saying that kids are having a problem even to understand a question during an exam. We bring out a what did they call it? A guide. Teachers are saying this guide is hopeless. So we don't know what to do. If teachers are not willing to provide the guide, government is providing the guide, you still don't like it. But guess what? It's not about teachers and government, it's about these kids. How do we help these kids learn? Look at that child there. Spontaneously, when Kamo was asking, what does your brain do? The first thing that child said is memorize. Please don't memorize anything. You can't depend on memory. You have to apply your mind and understand it. So you see, so we see from the kids. So children, just be happy. It's okay. Parents, teachers, don't force them not to have mobile time because you yourselves are having mobile time. I can't tell my children to say, hey, switch off that mobile because I myself need that mobile also. But let's try and see whether we can make these kids understand that moderate yourselves. In my family, my children moderate themselves. I can't tell my 8-year-old that, oh, you can't use this. It's bad because when I go for work, she'll use it anyways. So if we can trust these kids to moderate themselves. I don't know. I'm sure it's not impossible. It's a very possible thing. And I remember, Kamo, when we were going to school, we used to have compulsorily every 3 times in a week, teacher would take us for a long walk. I don't know whether Pauline remembers. It was the walk period. We literally had a walk period 3 times in a week. We used to have moral science. I don't know whether people today still take moral science. It was compulsory for us. We could not stay away from all of these important lessons of life. It was not, nobody was trying to convert me when I was doing my moral science. They were giving me lessons of life. So I wish that these kids will be able to handle whatever that's troubling you. And don't worry, if you have a problem, you're not weird. My daughter, till now, for some time, has developed a fear to go to the toilet alone. She gets very scared to go to the toilet, even if I'm sitting in the same room. So now I can't scream at my child. Don't do that. We need to figure out what's happening, because, even that sometimes, if you pressurize these children too much, I believe, I don't know, you're the psychiatrist, doctor, but I feel that I always tell my daughter, it's fine. When I was your age, even I was scared. We were scared to leave the gate, if you remember, Pauline, when we were growing up. We were scared, petrified. When the cars started multiplying on the streets, we would be scared to step out of our gate into a street. So it's okay. These things are there. Now parents, teachers, in our parent-teacher meeting for a child's performance, I feel very sad that 99.9% you're discussing the academics of that child. I don't know how many of you really care how that child feels, what's going on through the mind of the child. So recently when I went for a PTM to my daughter's school, I just told the teacher, I don't want my daughter to be a super intelligent kid. Come on, forget it. Tell me, how is she doing in school? Does she have friends? Is she okay? Does she know how to talk? Is she behaving herself? Does she have manners? Teachers, you don't want to tell us what's going on in our children's life. So you are reinforcing what we parents also expect of our children. I was not able to be a doctor, so my child has to be a doctor. This is very wrong. Very, very wrong. Let the children do what they want, provided they know that they're taking good decisions. And I think, kids of this generation are very smart. Even a 4-year-old knows how to take a decision. You'll be surprised. When you give them a food that they don't like, you say, eat. When they don't like, they'll say, no, we will not eat. Even if we force the child, that is the child's reaction to the norms that we make for all of them. So this is a very difficult subject, but I'm just pitching in some of the things that I see happening around me.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ambreen, and thank you for putting perspectives into order. And I think it's all right to remind ourselves every other time that we're humans and we need not be superhumans. Thank you so very much. On a serious note, now I know we're all, we've been mentioning sop plang and pork chow, and I think a little hint that we're all hungry and lunchtime is approaching. We're going to keep this really, really short. And, finally, I just want to ask you, Mr. Marubanyang, when it comes to utilizing the Poor Patient Fund, we're coming back to the crux of it all, okay? How is the Poor Patient Fund being administered, and what are the processes for patients to actually avail themselves of it, and how many have benefited so far?
See, what is Poor Patient Fund? We have to define it in a way that what do you mean by poverty, okay? So people who cannot afford financially for meeting their medical treatment because of various reasons, say poverty for instance, that falls under that category. Now, the hospital has instituted this poor patient right from 2012. When there are several patients that comes to the hospital, at the end of the day, after a month, after a week or a month, they will say, doctor, we don't have any more money, we want to go back. The doctors will say, no, you can't go back, you have to be treated. And when they say that we have finished all the money, we don't have any more resources, we want to go back, doctor, you have to stay back. It is because of that reasons only the Poor Patient Fund was conceived, that the hospital should have a separate fund, a separate account on the Poor Patient Fund. What are the sources of Poor Patient Fund? So far in the hospital, mostly we get the poor patient fund from the donations that people used to give. They know that there's a poor patient fund in the hospital account, they donate it to that fund. And this fund is utilized for this treatment of those patients. Now when we talk to a poor patient, don't misunderstand that everybody who comes there will be eligible for that poor patient fund. This is not the case. In this case, we do have a system, a mechanism by which who is to be determined as a poor person or a poor patient. There are categories, for instance, like for example, a person who is having a BPL certificate from the BDO, the Block Development Officer, that yes, family so and so and so falls within the poverty line. And those persons who possess with them the ration card, no? The National Food Security Act 2010 used to issue a family ration card for those people who deserves to be getting that because of the poverty. And also, the people who cannot afford to pay, then the government plays a very, very pivotal role. Now, the MHIS, or the Meghalaya Health Insurance Scheme, which we are talking about today in the early part of the session, is a scheme, is a health insurance scheme of the government that provides healthcare assistance to the people who belong from the poverty line. But over the years, like phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, there's no time to discuss what is phase 4, 5, 6. The different categories of people or patients have been included in this MHIS. The MHIS is linked with what they call as the National Health Insurance Scheme, which is known as the ABPMGAY. This is Ayush Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. That is linked with this scheme that people get the benefits of it. Now, in the hospital, as the government also encourages the people to go themselves registered on the MHIS, so you get all the benefits that a patient needs to be given through this MHIS, to this facility. Now what happened is that we also in the hospital insist that patients who come to the hospital should always register on the MHIS because of the cashless benefits that the government provided to the patients. Now it is only in a situation, suppose when after exhausting all these facilities, until still some amount of money that is left that they cannot afford, then the poor patient comes into being. There is no limit that you say how much can the hospital give or how minimum or the maximum. We don't. It depends on the situations that the hospital, only after you have availed all the opportunities, facilities available to all, MHIS, ABPMG, AY. Now, one thing I must say that I was supposed to say in the morning that the hospital, Robert Hospital, owes a great lot to the government of Meghalaya, especially during that COVID-19 pandemic. The government has come to support for right from the equipment, the oxygen generator plant, the oxygen of 500 LMP of liters per minute oxygen plant, and other oxygen concentrator for the benefits of the patient. Now, in those days, there are patients really who come and doesn't have money at all. In such a situation, then we need to see from the poor patient fund how best we can do. As I told you that the resources of the poor patient is very limited. The only sources that we get is only through donations from the well-wishers who know that hospital needs. There are poor patient cases where we can donate some funds to that patient. There is also a P2P, which we call patient-to-patient fund, although we have not implemented it, but there is already in the pipeline that a patient, suppose I want to give to a person, I don't know who is the person, you give to the hospital certain amounts of 50,000, that 50,000 will be utilized by the hospital for the treatment of one or A or B patient, which later on we will inform that yes, with your kind help, your donation, it has helped the patient A or B. That kind of fund is also there, which is linked to the poor patient fund. So this is how about poor patient fund, the sources which we get from to implement the poor patient, to the patient who comes, especially patients from the rural areas. Because the factors I've already informed you, these are the areas by which the hospital stepped into to provide special funds, special help for them in whatever capacity that the hospital has. This is all about the poor patient fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marbanyang. Thank you. I would like to thank all our panelists today. We've reached the end of the panel discussion, and I'm sure you've gained a lot from that. Have you? That's a very weak yes. Okay, that sounds much better now. So our take home is what today? You have learned something on mental health. You've learned something about general well-being. You've learned something on, what is the accepted lifestyle of students. And then the healthcare that we're speaking about, this person-to-patient fund, how do you access it? And why we're working towards getting funds for people who cannot afford to pay for their own medical expenses. So I would like to thank all the panelists here today, starting with Dr. Ampreen Lingdo, Mr. K. Marbanyang, Dr. Eddie, Dr. Meban, Mr. Kamo Narona, and Dr. Karsati, the principal of Pearly Dew. We're so grateful to them. And thank you so much for giving us a very patient hearing. And we're sure that you will take home a lot from what you've learned today. Thank you.
All right, so we have a special treat for you all. Consider this as an appetizer. And for that, I would request our guests, if you can kindly take your seats. We have a little appetizer for you all. And for that, I'd like to invite Kiara, Masar, and Vanessa. If you can kindly come forward. Thank you.
Mibas is really looking so mad right now. Sweetie. Yes. Check. Hello, check. I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again who I am, because I need to know. Oh, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong what you say of me, I believe. Only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, oh. You say I am loved when I can't feel a thing, and you say I am strong when I think I am weak, and you say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Taking all I have, and now I'm laying it at your feet. You have every failure, God. You have every victory. Oh, oh, oh. You say I am loved when I can't feel a thing, and you say I am strong when I think I am weak, and you say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Thank you. We now call Auntie Pauline to deliver the vote of thanks.
It's been a very long program, and I want to thank each and every one of you, dear children and dear teachers, for sitting so patiently. So I think when you came into this hall, you were wondering, what is this about? You know, we were invited here, we don't even know what this program is about. Well, we are musicians. We are the Music and Cultural Society of the Aroha Choir. Okay? So we are the society that looks after the choir. And why did we organize this program? It's because we feel very concerned about the mental health and well-being of our state. We are musicians, we are not experts, but the least we can do is use our music to foster an understanding of what we're going through. So what I want to take home today from what we heard from the panelists is to move. Can we just move our arms a little bit? Yeah, can we just get up once and then sit down before we have a snack? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, do have a seat. Another thing I want you to take away from this program is to eat what grows here naturally. Now, if you'll just give me a patient hearing, I'll just tell you one more fact. Shh. Everyone has to listen. I'm not only a musician, I'm a school teacher. Okay. The people who live in Hawaii, they're very much like tribals, okay? I think you've seen the people in Hawaii. Now, what happened to them over 100 years ago is they began to eat American food. pizzas and all these processed foods. And the result is that they're now battling obesity. When I was young, we hardly saw people who were overweight. In fact, I used to be called fatty because I ate a lot. But by today's standards, I was just healthy. So we didn't have fat kids because we ate normal food. We ate what grew here. We ate food in season. The trouble with us now is we have too much to eat. And the other side of the spectrum is we don't eat enough nutritious food. Okay? So remember the story of the Hawaiians? Remember what Miss Ellerine said about just snacking, eating processed foods? That is something that will help your mental well-being. You don't feel good if you eat the things that don't agree with you. Okay? And the other thing is to move, keep moving. And the third thing, actually I have two more things. The third thing is to have real friends. Please don't make friends with people so that you can climb onto the social ladder. Don't make friends because you want to look better in public. You will never make real friends if you want to be seen as popular. And the fourth and the most important thing, which we heard from Sir Tosan, read your Bible, pray, go to church, don't neglect your Sunday school. You must know the God you worship. That song that you heard just now, I am yours, we belong to God. And when we are connected to the head, we will start living again. So I want to thank all of you who've come here. I want to thank the schools and the school principals who've allowed you to come here, all the teachers who so kindly brought you here. I want to thank Tosan Karsati for providing the hall and for hosting this event. I want to thank the Roberts Hospital. And you may ask me why I am doing this for the Roberts Hospital. Why not for any other hospital? One news person asked me this recently. I'm doing it because I was born there. My grandfather was one of the first Indian doctors to work in that hospital. And the guy who started the hospital, his name was Dr. Roberts. He was a small little Welshman, but he spoke Khasi fluently. And he would even tell my mom, he would say in very colloquial Khasi, he would say, Ani ki ngap jang patamu ki saukum ki sokan por wa along. That's how much he identified with the people. So I think this is where we can start, and I want you to take an interest in your well-being, take an interest in the hospital, see what you can do to help it, and leave remembering these 4 things that I've asked you to remember. So thank you, and God bless you. Is Tosan here? Sir Tosan, are you here? He's not here. It's okay. All right, so thank you once again, and there will be some